As you can hear in the background, rain and thunder will be played to help you feel peaceful and relaxed. The stories that will be told are meant to help you feel tranquil and, in the end, hopefully help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, make yourself warm, and let's enjoy the good night's sleep that these stories hopefully will bring you. The moon hung low in the sky, a pale orb casting feeble light upon the fog that clung to the ancient trees surrounding the mansion. The air was thick with the musty scent of decay and dampness. Samantha Simpson stepped onto the creaking porch, the time-worn wood protesting beneath her every step. The mansion loomed like a specter in the dense mist, its outline obscured by the tendrils of fog. Ivy clung desperately to the cracked walls, as if trying to hold on to a life long lost. A single, dimly lit lantern swayed in the wind, casting eerie shadows that danced across the grand entrance. As Samantha crossed the threshold, the heavy door groaned, protesting the intrusion. Inside, the air felt colder, the silence more profound. Dust particles floated in the air, catching the moonlight like ethereal fireflies. The silence was broken only by the distant hoot of an owl, a harbinger of mysteries untold. The Blackwood children, Mary and Oliver, appeared like ghosts from the shadows. Their pale faces and wide eyes betrayed both innocence and an awareness beyond their years. They greeted Samantha with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, their hushed voices barely audible in the oppressive stillness. "Welcome, Miss Simpson," Mary whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. Oliver clutched a worn teddy bear, its button eyes seeming to watch the newcomer with a silent, knowing gaze. Samantha smiled, attempting to dispel the uneasy atmosphere. "Thank you, Mary. It's a pleasure to meet you both." The children led her through dimly lit corridors adorned with faded tapestries and portraits frozen in time. The mansion seemed to breathe with a history of whispered secrets, each step echoing with the weight of a past unwilling to be forgotten. In the dim glow of a flickering candle, Samantha was shown to her quarters, a room frozen in time, adorned with moth-eaten curtains and antique furniture cloaked in dusty sheets. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and memories, long buried. As the door closed behind her, Samantha stood alone in the quiet room. The walls seemed to pulse with a hidden heartbeat, and the shadows whispered of stories untold. Unbeknownst to her, the first chapter of her journey into the shadows of the past had just begun, and the mansion held its breath, awaiting the inevitable unraveling of its haunted secrets. The mansion, a brooding giant against the misty backdrop, seemed to exhale secrets as Samantha explored its shadowy corridors. As she moved through the creaking hallways, the air thickened with the weight of unspoken tales. The walls, adorned with fading tapestries and portraits staring with hollow eyes, echoed the forgotten history of the Blackwood family. Samantha found herself drawn to the library, a room bathed in the glow of flickering candlelight. Dust danced in the air as she delicately opened worn, leather-bound books that held the key to the mansion's enigma. The smell of aged parchment enveloped her like a shroud, and the words within whispered of forbidden love, betrayal, and a darkness that clung to the Blackwood name. Photographs, yellowed with age, revealed a younger Lord Archibald Blackwood, his face contorted by a sinister grin that hinted at the malevolence that would linger beyond death. Samantha shivered as the ghostly images seemed to flicker, capturing fleeting glimpses of the specter that haunted the mansion. The children, Mary and Oliver, unwittingly became Samantha's guides to the cryptic past. Mary, with her porcelain doll and wide-eyed innocence, spoke of laughter that echoed in unseen chambers, and Oliver, a somber boy with eyes too old for his years, hinted at whispers that danced on the edge of audibility. Nights in the mansion became a symphony of creaks and whispers. Samantha, beneath the heavy canopy of her bed, listened intently to the nocturnal secrets that danced in the silence. It was as if the very walls were narrating tales of love turned sour, of promises broken, and the desperate wails of a tormented soul. In her solitary moments, Samantha found herself lingering at the grand mirror in the hallway, where the reflection of a ghostly figure occasionally overlapped with her own. The lines between the living and the spectral blurred, and she questioned whether she was a mere observer or an unwitting participant in the haunting drama that unfolded. The library became both sanctuary and abyss, a place where Samantha sought answers while being drawn deeper into the labyrinth of the Blackwood legacy. The books whispered secrets of forbidden rituals and the consequences of wielding power unchecked. As Samantha turned the brittle pages, she felt the eyes of the painted ancestors bore into her soul. The room pulsated with an otherworldly energy, and each revelation plunged her further into a web of intrigue, her curiosity transforming into a sense of responsibility to protect the children from the looming darkness that lurked within the mansion's walls. The chapter concluded with Samantha standing at the threshold of understanding, the flickering candlelight casting long shadows that seemed to dance in tandem with the whispers of the mansion's tortured history. The malevolent spirit, unseen but palpable, waited in the wings, its presence intensifying as Samantha ventured deeper into the realm of secrets and shadows. The mansion's grandeur crumbled under the oppressive weight of shadows, the fog outside creeping into every crevice. Samantha's footsteps echoed through the dimly lit halls, the creaking floorboards beneath her betraying the mansion's ancient secrets. Moonlight, filtered through heavy drapes, cast long, ghostly fingers across the threadbare carpet. The clock struck midnight as Samantha found herself drawn to the abandoned library. The room exhaled an air of age, the scent of dust and faded ink clinging to the volumes lining the shelves. A chill ran down her spine, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. She could swear she heard whispers, indistinct and haunting, as she skimmed through the pages of an old journal. In the dim light, the ghostly apparition of Lord Archibald Blackwood began to materialize. His silhouette, draped in tattered remnants of a once opulent suit, materialized from the gloom, eyes devoid of life fixated on Suzanne, a malevolence seeping through the ethereal visage. Curiosity led you here, Governess, Lord Blackwood's voice. A cold breeze through a forgotten graveyard resonated in the silence. But beware, for some truths are better left undiscovered. Samantha's heart quickened, the room closing in as the spectral figure advanced. The ghostly whispers grew louder, weaving tales of betrayal, forbidden desires, and a hunger for power that transcended the boundaries of life and death. As she backed away, Samantha's trembling hand brushed against an antique mirror. The reflection that stared back was not hers, but a distorted image of Lord Blackwood, his hollow eyes penetrating her very soul. The whispers intensified, each syllable etching the weight of centuries, old sins onto the walls. The temperature plummeted and shadows danced across the room, merging with the ghostly figure. Suzanne could almost feel the cold touch of long, forgotten secrets clawing at her sanity. The ghost's whispers became urgent, a relentless barrage of guilt and despair echoing in the cavernous library. In a desperate attempt to break free from the spectral onslaught, Samantha stumbled backward, her breath hitching. The room seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as if the very essence of the mansion rebelled against the intrusion into its haunted history. Just as Samantha reached the threshold of the library, the whispers crescendoed into a spine, chilling wail. The ghostly figure dissipated, leaving behind an oppressive silence that settled like a heavy shroud. Gasping for breath, Samantha clutched the journal to her chest, the weight of forbidden knowledge etched into her soul. The library, now draped in an eerie stillness, bore witness to the governess's first confrontation with the supernatural force that gripped the mansion. Little did she know, The whispers had only just begun, and the shadows held darker secrets waiting to be unveiled. The moon hung low in the fog-laden sky, casting feeble rays through the tangle of branches that cradled the decaying mansion. Samantha's fingers trembled as she traced the faded edges of a yellowed photograph, revealing the somber faces of the Blackwood family. The mansion's walls echoed with the whispers of a twisted past, secrets that clung to the air like a shroud. In the dim light of the library, Samantha delved into a trove of old letters and journals, each page creaking under the weight of forgotten sorrows. The scratching of a pen from a bygone era resonated, and she deciphered the words of a tormented Lord Archibald Blackwood. His writings revealed a descent into madness, a pact with forces beyond mortal comprehension, all in the pursuit of power. The specter of Lord Blackwood seemed to materialize in the flickering candlelight, casting ghostly shadows upon the walls. As Samantha pieced together the fragmented history, the air grew heavy with the weight of betrayal and malevolence. The mansion itself seemed to groan, burdened by the sins buried in its foundation. Mary and Oliver, sensing the growing tension, withdrew into the safety of their chambers, leaving Samantha alone in the oppressive silence. A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, and the letters on the desk fluttered, as if the spirits within the pages yearned to break free. The governess's heart pounded as she uncovered the sinister connection between the Blackwood family and the unexplained disappearances that plagued the surrounding village. Each revelation sent shivers down her spine, and the oppressive presence of Lord Blackwood's ghost loomed ever closer. The library's creaking floorboards seemed to align with the rhythm of Susane's racing pulse as she stumbled upon a hidden passage detailed in a forgotten journal. A secret chamber, concealed behind a tapestry in the main hall, held the answers she sought. With trepidation, she embarked on a journey through the labyrinthine corridors of the mansion. As Samantha approached the hidden chamber, the air grew thick with a palpable malevolence. The walls seemed to pulse with a dark energy, and the whispers of the past escalated into anguished cries. The ghostly apparition of Lord Blackwood materialized, his twisted visage flickering in and out of existence. Dialogue between the living and the dead echoed through the chamber, revealing the depth of Lord Blackwood's depravity. The governess confronted the malevolent spirit with a mix of determination and fear, unearthing the final horrifying piece of the puzzle. The mansion's foundations trembled as the sinister connection reached its climax. In the dim light, Samantha emerged from the hidden chamber, the weight of the revelations etched across her face. The atmosphere in the mansion hung in limbo, caught between the sins of the past and an uncertain future. The ghostly whispers persisted, leaving a chilling resonance that would haunt Samantha's every step in the chapters yet to unfold. The clock struck midnight, its resonant chime echoing through the mansion's dimly lit corridors. Samantha, fueled by a mixture of trepidation and determination, ascended the creaking staircase, its steps whispering tales of centuries. Old secrets. The air grew heavy with an unnatural stillness as she approached the door to Lord Blackwood's former study, where the ghostly whispers had been most insistent. The door swung open with a reluctant groan, revealing the study adorned with dusty books and tattered tapestries. Moonlight filtered through the moth-eaten curtains, casting elongated shadows that seemed to dance with an otherworldly rhythm. Samantha's breath caught in her throat as she sensed the ethereal presence lurking within. "Lord Blackwood," she called out, her voice steadier than her racing heart. "I demand you reveal yourself." A chilling breeze swept through the room, extinguishing the flickering candles that lined the mahogany desk. The temperature plummeted, and the walls seemed to pulse with an unseen energy. The ghost materialized, a shadowy figure with hollow eyes that bore into Samantha's very soul. "You dare intrude upon my domain, governess," Lord Blackwood's voice echoed, a symphony of malevolence that sent shivers down her spine. Samantha stood her ground, the flickering candlelight casting an ethereal glow upon her determined features. I seek answers, not your domain. What sins plague this house? What darkness lingers in the shadows? The ghostly lord chuckled, a ghastly sound that reverberated through the room. The sins of the past, my dear governess, are the foundation upon which this mansion was built. Secrets buried deep, waiting to be uncovered. As the words hung in the air, the room warped and twisted, revealing glimpses of long-forgotten scenes. Images of betrayal, deceit, and despair played out like haunting specters on the walls. Susain recoiled, absorbing the weight of the centuries. Old tragedy. Your precious children, Lord Blackwood taunted, his voice dripping with malevolence. Their fate is entwined with mine, as are you. The atmosphere intensified, shadows dancing with a newfound ferocity. Susain, undeterred, pressed further. Release this house from the chains of your malevolence. Let the children go. The ghost's hollow gaze bore into her with a mixture of disdain and curiosity. You think you can save them? The sins of the past cannot be erased. Governess. They linger like echoes in the darkness. Samantha, standing on the precipice of the supernatural, mustered her courage. I will not let you consume them. The sins may linger, but so does the power to break the chains. I will free this house from your haunting grip. The room quivered as the confrontation reached its zenith. The ghostly figure wavered, its malevolence challenged by the governess's unwavering resolve. The air crackled with energy as the final battle between the living and the dead unfolded in the haunted halls of the mansion. The grand ballroom, once adorned with opulent chandeliers, now hung heavy with an oppressive stillness. Moonlight filtered through cracked windows, casting eerie shadows on the faded wallpaper. Samantha stood in the aftermath of the supernatural maelstrom, her breath catching as she surveyed the transformed room. The ghostly whispers had ceased, leaving only a haunting silence. Mary and Oliver, huddled close, gazed at Samantha with wide, frightened eyes. The oppressive weight of the malevolent spirit had lifted, but the echoes of desolation lingered. Samantha's hand trembled as she clutched the worn banister. The air was charged with residual energy, a spectral residue that prickled her skin. The once vibrant wallpaper, adorned with images of joyous celebrations, now seemed to weep in faded despair. As she moved through the mansion, each room told a story of the tormented past. In the study, where Lord Blackwood had orchestrated his dark machinations, the atmosphere remained thick with an otherworldly chill. The fireplace, cold to the touch, hinted at the ghost's lingering resentment. In the children's nursery, toys that once echoed laughter now seemed frozen in time, trapped in the spectral grip of the mansion's history. Samantha's footsteps echoed against the aged floorboards, a somber cadence marking the passing of an era stained with sins. The moon, a witness to the night's supernatural turmoil, bathed the mansion in an ethereal glow. Shadows danced across the hallway, creating an unsettling ballet of darkness. Samantha's heart raced as she approached the grand staircase, each step a reminder of the harrowing confrontation. As she descended, the air grew heavier. The portraits lining the staircase seemed to watch her with spectral eyes, capturing the agony and despair of those who had lived and died within these walls. Samantha paused before the grand entrance, where the mansion's front doors creaked open as if sighing in relief. The fog outside had thickened, enveloping the estate in a spectral embrace. Samantha took a hesitant step onto the dew-kissed grounds, the damp grass chilling her bare feet. The mansion loomed behind her, a silhouette against the moonlit fog, its secrets forever etched in the haunted tapestry of time. A haunting melody, distant and melancholic, wafted through the air. Samantha turned, searching for the source, and her eyes widened. The once ornate gazebo, now weathered and forgotten, concealed the spectral figure of Lord Blackwood. His translucent form seemed to waver between agony and remorse. You have lifted the curse, governess, he whispered, his voice a fading echo. "But the shadows will forever linger. Beware the echoes of desolation." As the ghost dissipated into the mist, Susain was left alone in the haunted garden. The mansion loomed behind her, a silent witness to the echoes of a tormented past. She felt a chill, not from the lingering spectral presence, but from the realization that some shadows could never be fully dispelled. With one last glance at the mansion, she turned away, stepping into the fog, shrouded night. The echoes of desolation lingered in her wake, a haunting refrain that would forever resonate in the corridors of her memories. The autumn night wrapped the forest in a thick cloak of mist, casting an eerie veil over the towering trees. Emily Sinclair, a seasoned paranormal investigator with a reputation for debunking supernatural myths, sat alone in her dimly lit office. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows across her face as she studied the letter that arrived earlier that day. The paper, aged and brittle, bore a crest she couldn't place, a swirling amalgamation of twisted vines and ancient symbols. The family, desperate for answers, pleaded for her expertise in unraveling the mysteries that plagued their ancestral mansion. It was an invitation to darkness, whispered through ink on a yellowing parchment. The Sinclair name had become synonymous with skepticism in the paranormal community. Emily was known for her ability to strip away the supernatural veneer and expose the mundane truths behind haunted tales. Yet, there was a peculiar weight to this letter, an intangible force that tugged at the edges of her rationality. A chill brushed against Emily's skin as she made her way to the forest that cradled the mansion. The fog clung to the trees like ghostly fingers, and each step seemed to echo with a resonance that transcended the physical. The mansion emerged from the mist, its silhouette a formidable presence against the backdrop of the darkened sky. The air thickened with anticipation as Emily approached the imposing structure. The ancient stones seemed to whisper secrets, their secrets woven into the very fabric of the mansion's history. The creaking of the heavy wooden door echoed through the silent night, resonating like a prelude to the macabre symphony that awaited within. The family, their faces etched with worry and lined with shadows, greeted Emily, their eyes haunted by the unseen, pleaded for salvation. They guided her through dimly lit corridors, the air thick with a mixture of dampness and decay. Portraits of ancestors adorned the walls, their eyes following Emily's every move, as if whispering tales of the mansion's tormented past. In the parlor, the family recounted their experiences. The spectral apparitions, the inexplicable drafts, the whispers that reverberated through the halls. Emily listened, her skepticism waning with each word. She felt a current in the air, a palpable energy that eluded the grasp of reason. As the family concluded their haunting narrative, Emily's gaze fixated on the grand staircase that ascended to unseen heights. The flickering candlelight cast long shadows that danced along the walls, seemingly alive with unseen entities. The mansion awaited, a labyrinth of secrets, and Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this investigation would test the limits of her skepticism. The journey into darkness had just begun, and the mansion whispered promises of revelations and horrors that transcended the realm of the known. The invitation, once a mere letter on her desk, had become a gateway to a world where skepticism and belief intertwined in a dance of shadows and whispers. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit foyer adorned with faded wallpaper peeling at the edges. Emily Sinclair stepped cautiously into the mansion, her footsteps echoing through the vast emptiness. The air seemed to thicken, carrying with it the scent of aged wood and forgotten secrets. As she explored the first room, a chill ran down her spine. Dust, particles danced in the weak moonlight that filtered through tattered curtains. Antique furniture, draped in white sheets, stood frozen in time. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional groan of the mansion settling into its ancient bones. The family's tales echoed in Emily's mind as she moved deeper, each step a deliberate challenge to the shadows. Whispers, barely audible, seemed to flutter at the edges of her consciousness. She dismissed them as figments of her imagination, remnants of stories implanted by an overactive imagination. The hallway stretched like a corridor through time, adorned with faded portraits of somber-faced ancestors. Eyes in the paintings followed her, and for a moment Emily swore she saw the corners of their mouths twitch in sinister amusement. She shook off the uneasy feeling and pressed forward. The second room revealed a grandiose dining hall, a relic of opulence long abandoned. The table, adorned with tarnished silverware, bore the remnants of an unfinished feast frozen in time. As Emily examined the faded tapestries, a sudden drop in temperature sent a shiver down her spine. Goosebumps formed on her arms as an unseen presence seemed to brush past her. She whispered to herself, trying to maintain composure. It's just a draft. Old buildings are filled with them. But her voice faltered as an eerie wail resonated through the hall. The whispers grew louder, overlapping and creating a dissonant symphony that clawed at her sanity. The third room, an abandoned library, held decaying books with bindings worn by time. Emily's flashlight flickered, casting elongated shadows on the shelves. As she skimmed through dusty tomes, an ancient journal caught her eye. It chronicled the mansion's dark history, detailing mysterious disappearances, spectral sightings, and a malevolent force dubbed the Whispering Shade. With each turn of the page, the whispers crescendoed, echoing the tormented voices of those long gone. Unbeknownst to Emily, the shadows around her seemed to coil and writhe, as if responding to the ominous tales recounted in the journal. As she closed the journal, a ghostly figure materialized before her, bathed in an ethereal glow. Emily's breath caught in her throat, her skepticism waning. The entity hovered, its eyes fixated on her, and a chilling whisper echoed through the room. You cannot escape the shadows. Emily Sinclair. They have always been a part of you. The room plunged into darkness as Emily's flashlight extinguished, leaving her alone with the haunting echoes of the past and the unseen malevolence that lingered in the shadows. The mansion creaked in protest as Emily ventured deeper into its heart, the silence broken only by the rhythmic tap of her boots on the aged wooden floor. Shadows clung to the walls like tendrils of some ethereal creature, flickering with every feeble gust of wind. A subtle whisper danced through the air, barely audible, yet laden with a weight that made Emily's skin prickle. She dismissed it as the rustle of leaves outside. But her skeptical mind couldn't ignore the shiver that ran down her spine. As she entered the grand hall, adorned with faded portraits of long-forgotten faces, the temperature plummeted. The grand chandelier overhead swung ever so slightly, casting eerie shadows that seemed to undulate with a life of their own. Emily's breath materialized in the cold air, forming ghostly wisps that mirrored the unseen presence surrounding her. Ghosts of footsteps echoed, faint but undeniable. Emily turned sharply, her flashlight piercing the darkness. The shadows retreated momentarily, revealing an empty corridor. Yet the whispers persisted, now echoing through the mansion's labyrinthine passages like a chorus of lost souls. In a room with peeling wallpaper and dusty furniture frozen in time, Emily felt an unseen gaze upon her. The air grew dense, charged with an otherworldly energy. She spoke aloud, her voice cutting through the silence. If there's something here, show yourself. The room responded with a sudden drop in temperature, and a spectral figure materialized in the corner, a silhouette indistinct yet palpable, its edges wavering like smoke. Emily's heart quickened, her breath catching in her throat. The whispering intensified, a cacophony of disjointed voices overlapping, murmuring secrets, long confined to the mansion's walls. Emily strained to decipher the words, catching fragments of despair, longing, and a name. The Whispering Shade. As quickly as it appeared, the apparition dissolved into the shadows, leaving Emily standing in a room pulsating with residual energy. The weight of the unseen presence lingered, imprinting itself on her psyche. With a mixture of trepidation and determination, Emily pressed on, guided by the chilling whispers that now seemed to lead her deeper into the mansion's enigmatic history. Unbeknownst to her, the Whispering Shade reveled in the unsettling dance between skepticism and the undeniable supernatural forces that enveloped her. The stage was set for a confrontation that would challenge the very fabric of her understanding, as the unseen presence tightened its grip on both the investigator and the mansion's secrets. The air inside the mansion seemed to thicken as Emily entered the grand hall. Moonlight filtered through the ancient, dust-laden windows, casting elongated shadows that danced upon the walls. The ornate wallpaper whispered tales of long-forgotten secrets, and the floor creaked beneath Emily's cautious footsteps. A chill ran down her spine, and she fought to suppress the rising unease that clung to the air like a phantom. Whispers, barely audible, wrapped around her consciousness, urging her to succumb to the creeping darkness. Emily shook her head, attempting to dispel the unsettling feeling, reminding herself of her commitment to reason. As she ventured deeper into the mansion, the walls seemed to close in, each step echoing with a haunting resonance. A sudden gust of cold wind extinguished the candles lining the hallway, plunging her into an inky blackness that seemed to devour the very essence of light. "Emily," a voice echoed, barely louder than a breath. It called her name with a familiarity that sent shivers through her core. She strained to discern the source, her senses heightened in the suffocating darkness. The door at the end of the hallway creaked open, revealing a room that seemed to pulsate with malevolence. Emily cautiously entered, the silence broken only by the rhythmic beat of her heart. The room was a manifestation of her fears. Darkened mirrors lined the walls, reflecting distorted versions of her own image, a grotesque caricature of vulnerability. As she approached one of the mirrors, the distorted reflection morphed into a haunting visage of the paranormal encounter that had haunted her past. "I know you," the ghostly reflection whispered, its voice an eerie mimicry of her own. "I am the fear that lingers in the recesses of your mind." Emily recoiled, her rationality waning as the room seemed to warp reality. Shadows clawed at the edges of her vision, threatening to consume her sanity. The room became a twisted labyrinth of memories and nightmares, each step a descent into the abyss of her own psyche. Dialogue between Emily and the distorted reflections revealed the depth of her fears. The spectral entities mocked her skepticism, weaving a tapestry of doubt around her rational mind. As the whispers intensified, Emily grappled with the traumatic memory of her past encounter, the line between reality and illusion blurring with each passing moment. In this room of psychological torment, the Whispering Shade seized the opportunity to exploit Emily's vulnerabilities. The shadows coiled around her, and the chilling whispers crescendoed into a cacophony of malevolent voices. The room seemed to breathe with a life of its own, a sinister force pushing Emily to the brink. As the confrontation reached its zenith, Emily stood at the crossroads of reason and terror. The distorted reflections in the mirrors mocked her, and the room pulsated with an otherworldly energy. With each heartbeat, the line between skepticism and belief blurred, leaving Emily teetering on the precipice of the unknown. Darkness clung to the mansion like a malevolent shroud, and Emily found herself engulfed in an otherworldly maze that twisted and turned with each passing moment. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding as she navigated the shadowed corridors, her flashlight flickering as if struggling against unseen forces. The mansion, once a grand display of opulence, now betrayed an aura of decay that seemed to seep from the very walls. the ornate wallpaper, peeling and stained, whispered tales of long-forgotten secrets. As Emily moved forward, the atmosphere shifted with each creaking floorboard, as if the house itself was alive and watching her every move. Whispers danced around her, disembodied voices murmuring in hushed tones that sent shivers down her spine. The labyrinth seemed to play with her senses, distorting reality in subtle ways. Paintings on the walls twisted into grotesque figures when she blinked, and the portraits of long-dead residents seemed to follow her with vacant eyes. The dialogue between Emily and the entity grew more intense, the whispers morphing into chilling threats and unsettling revelations. The malevolent force reveled in recounting the mansion's dark history, each word dripping with malice. Emily's skepticism wavered as the line between the rational and the supernatural blurred. In the heart of the labyrinth, a grand ballroom materialized, its once elegant chandeliers now dangling precariously. Flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the faded wallpaper adorned with ghostly silhouettes of revelers frozen in time. The room seemed suspended in a perpetual twilight, an eerie stillness, broken only by the echoes of distant laughter. As Emily stepped into the ballroom, the whispers reached a crescendo. The air crackled with energy and the temperature plummeted. Her breath formed icy clouds as she confronted the entity's influence head on. In the dialogue between investigator and malevolence, the true nature of the whispering shade emerged, a tortured spirit seeking release. But in its desperation, it sought to consume the living to gain strength. The maze tightened its grip, forcing Emily to confront not only the supernatural, but the darkest recesses of her own mind. The entities within the mansion fed on her fears, manifesting them with cruel precision. Every step became a battle against the spectral forces that sought to break her resolve. With each turn, the mansion seemed to pulse with a malevolent heartbeat. Shadows writhed on the walls, contorting to grotesque shapes that mocked the very essence of reality. The labyrinth of horrors tested Emily's determination, pushing her to the brink of sanity. As she neared the heart of the mansion, the dialogue reached its zenith. The entity's voice echoed in the ballroom, weaving a haunting symphony of despair. Emily stood at the epicenter of the supernatural storm, her flashlight flickering wildly as she prepared for the climactic confrontation that awaited her in the final depths of the labyrinth. The room was a cathedral of shadows, adorned with ornate tapestries that seemed to ripple with malevolent energy. Moonlight filtered through moth-eaten curtains, casting dancing patterns on the cold, stone floor. Emily stood at the epicenter of a nightmare, surrounded by echoes of the past and the palpable tension of impending doom. The air crackled with an otherworldly energy as the whispering shade materialized, its form a shifting mass of darkness. It seemed to draw the very essence of fear from the walls, coalescing into a vaguely humanoid shape that exuded an aura of malevolence. Emily's breath caught in her throat as the entity fixed its hollow, obsidian gaze upon her. "Emily Sinclair," it hissed, its voice a dissonant symphony of echoing whispers. "You cannot escape the shadows that cling to you. They are the threads that weave the fabric of your fear." Emily, trembling but resolute, clenched her fists. "I don't fear you." The room echoed with the sinister laughter of the whispering shade, a sound that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. It circled Emily, creating an oppressive atmosphere that pressed against her like a suffocating embrace. As they spoke, the tapestries on the walls animated with ghostly images, scenes of despair and torment from the mansion's dark history. Each image mirrored the torment Emily carried within, and the room became a twisted reflection of her own fears. "You deny the truth, Emily," the entity crooned. "You carry the scars of a past encounter, a brush with the unknown that haunts your every step." Images of that fateful night flashed before Emily's eyes. The ghostly apparition, the ethereal whispers, the feeling of helplessness. The room seemed to pulse with the rhythm of her pounding heart. With a surge of determination, Emily raised her voice above the oppressive whispers. I faced the unknown before, and I'll face it again. You won't break me. The whispering shade recoiled, as if struck by an unseen force. Shadows writhed and contorted, revealing a flicker of vulnerability within the entity's inky form. Emily seized the opportunity, reaching into her bag and producing a worn, ancient artifact, a talisman of containment. As she held the talisman aloft, the room convulsed with a tortured scream, a symphony of anguish that seemed to emanate from the very core of the mansion. The entity fought against its spectral prison, resisting the pull of the talisman's ancient magic. Your fear sustains me, the whispering shade hissed, its voice now a desperate plea. With a final, defiant gesture, Emily activated the talisman. The room quivered with a blinding light, and the entity let out a guttural roar before dissipating into the shadows from whence it came. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the room returned to an eerie calm. Emily stood alone, breathless but victorious. The echoes of the past receded, leaving behind an unsettling quiet. The mansion seemed to exhale a sigh of relief, its haunted history momentarily pacified. Yet, as Emily pocketed the talisman and surveyed the now silent room, a lingering sense of unease tugged at her. The line between skepticism and belief had blurred, and the shadows, though momentarily subdued, whispered of the unknown that lingered just beyond the edges of perception.